And this is just to show people that I do not support President Biden, but just know, even if it's hot air rhetoric, this is what President Trump is planning to do should he get back into the White House.
Number one, they have to finish the job. Israel has to finish that job. They have to finish it quickly, strongly, and they have to get back to life again because it's taking too long. They have to finish the job.
You're saying go in, win, and finish.
You got to win. Got to win.
What does that mean? What does it mean you got to win? Is that we totally got to blow them to pieces? It's like, what does this mean? It's, again, I shun at this idea that we're ever going to get to a point. I mean, again, even in Canada, I'm sure there are certain benefits to the electoral system. There's some bad things, but at the end of the day, in this country, we're so corporate captured, and we only have these two monolith parties that get, they're controlled by the billionaire class. And granted, there are more billionaires that are in the Democratic Party than there are in the Republican Party, but there's a lot more Zionists that are in the GOP than they are in the Democratic Party, and a lot of them are Christian Zionists, which is something that a lot of people don't want to talk about. Like the Joel Osteens of the world and the Pat Robertsons of the world. Those are all Christian Zionists. They all revere the state of Israel and believe that they can do whatever they want. And when I hear Trump talking like this, I'm thinking, is it possible that he'll change his tune when he gets in there? Yeah, it's possible, but it's also possible that he completely means what he's saying. And he's also talking to his good friend Sean Hannity, who's a Christian Zionist. So.
I think, I don't know if Trump gives a lot of thought to what he says, but that idea of finish it, win, and get it over with makes me think about the U.S. in Vietnam, right? And the people that the U.S. was fighting against were the people. They were of the people, right? The Viet Cong were the people. And you really can't, defeat the people because they're the ones who live there and they're staying, And I think Israel's in a similar situation around this idea of defeating or, ending this militarily. It's impossible.
Yeah. This is talk about being caught between a rock and a hard place. And I did believe that RFK had a real shot to make an impact. And he may still, but as Jen likes to say, he's too far up Rabbi Shmuley's tuchus to be able to see. So that's unfortunately a problem. We'll continue.
Yeah.
The attack on October 7th, and it's getting more and more demeaned. They're demeaning it. I have people now telling me they don't think the attack ever happened. And take a look. You watch the news reports.
I have the
where
50
people
minutes
that are
of video.
protesting. Sure, I know you do, and so do I. But here's the thing. You watch these people on television, and then just like you have Holocaust deniers also. They say the Holocaust never took. It's the exact same people. They're saying it never happened. AOC +3. Israel was the most powerful lobby in the country 15 years ago.
They're still the most powerful lobby in the country. And for him to even say that is another one of those Trumpisms where it's like, no, you're not supposed to say that. That's you can't have that.
And no one says that October 7th didn't happen. Just absolutely no one says that. So this is it's just manipulative demagoguery.
Listen, I've got the best people around me. They totally came out. They told me, they said they got people saying October 7th didn't happen. It's really terrible. We got to go in there. We got to finish the job. That's what we got to do. It's freaking performance art with this guy, but he's in a position right now where because of the current president, he's tracking to get back in there again. And considering everything that's going on right now, there's not even an attempt to cool things down. It's just get worse and worse and worse. So we'll get to Netanyahu after the video's over.
Today, between Tlaib and AOC and all of these people, what they're doing, Israel, they don't have the backing that they once had.
You'll give it to them.
Yeah, I'm good. But they don't have the backing. Even Schumer has become like a Palestinian. Chuck Schumer, Jewish, always strong for Israel. He's become like a Palestinian.
He called for elections in the middle of a war.
Yeah, it's a very bad thing. It's a very sad thing, and it's a very dangerous thing. But if you look, so many people, I watch on your show where they're going and interviewing these people that are protesting just recently at Columbia and the different places. They say, we don't believe October 7th ever happened. And they may believe that, they may actually believe that, but they have to get the job done. They have to get in there and they have to get it done.
And when he calls out Rashida Tlaib by name, which of course is not a mistake, you put people's lives in danger because there are these crazy radicals that, especially because of the economic and political circumstances of our time, people are desperate and they'll look for anything that they can, latch onto where they think that maybe if I do this, things will get better,
Sure.
even if it means sacrificing myself. That the whole concept of what's going on to me is exceptionally dangerous. And none of these guys, I mean, listen, credit to Jill Stein, even though, she's running on the Green Party ticket and there's many issues there. I think that she's going to do well. She'll certainly do as well as she's ever done before because this is not going away. But she's a Jewish woman who's also a baby boomer, and she is saying what needs to be said. This is a genocide, and we've got to stop it. Now, you could argue that, well, it's easier to do that when you don't have, hundreds of millions of dollars backing your campaign and making you a real threat to win the presidency. I do think her threat to get to 5% is very possible. Somebody's got to step up. And I think that Trump is saying what he's saying clearly because he thinks it's what's going to help him electorally. But that's an example of his rhetoric that is just so off the wall. And being with Sean Hannity, who I think is a friend of his, that doesn't help either. Sean Hannity is one of the absolute worst corporate talking heads I've ever seen in the history of cable TV. As bad as anybody.
All right. So what do we do about it? That's the question that matters. What can we do?
Well, what we can do, obviously, is to help people like Jen, also help those that are fighting the good fight. I do think somebody like Jill Stein is worth supporting just because it's there. It's something. It's something where you could potentially make an electoral impact. But the truth of the matter is, if you were going to make that change in the United States, it's going to come from a labor movement. That's why you've got, the best labor leader we have today is Sean Fain of the UAW, the United Auto Workers. And he's out there saying, we need to end this now. There is a genocide that is occurring. And that takes a lot. But is it surprising that it's coming from the labor movement? No, because this is a class war. And one thing that I think you've probably noticed over the course of this whole odyssey since October 7th is that it really is a class war. The affluent Jewish class are the ones who are standing firmly with Israel, and it's basically everybody else in the Jewish community who is saying, we don't want any part of this. This is not who we are. This does not represent Judaism, and this is absolutely wrong. And it really does fall on class lines. Your thoughts on that as we wind down the conversation?
Yep. I think you're exactly right. And again, I think people need to mobilize and really apply ourselves to pragmatically making the changes that we can. And I just comment a little bit about Jill Stein and the presidential race and congressional races as well. I think we need to be very strategic and pragmatic. Look at the states we vote in and the districts we vote in. And if we're in swing districts or swing states where taking support away from someone who could win, but they're not ideal, and voting for someone who's more ideal, and thereby making the one who's not ideal lose and get something even worse, that's a bad strategy. We shouldn't let the, somewhat good be the enemy of the perfect, right? That's what I'm, so my decision around somebody like Jill Stein is I'll just say I vote in Pennsylvania, which is a very large swing state with a lot of electoral votes, right? And I don't want to see Trump win, right? So as much as I'd like to vote for Jill Stein, I'll probably vote for Joe Biden because I live in Pennsylvania. If I lived someplace where it's not a swing state, and my vote is unlikely to determine the outcome anyway, I would feel very free to vote for her and express myself. There's no chance she's going to win. That's not what's going to happen, right? But if I lived in a state where I knew it was going to come out either Democrat or Republican, my vote's not going to matter. It'll be great. Okay, I'll just vote for Jill Stein. And I would take the same approach to congressional elections, Senate elections, try to think very pragmatically, realistically, in the one place where my one vote matters, what's going to produce the best outcome, and not just like try to express myself, but look at what's really going to be the impact of what I do.
Which also speaks to the bigger issue here for so many of us. We do have these issues that, regarding voting, that becomes a much bigger problem because we're not as active as we should be. If you really believe in a cause, you have to get involved. That's why I always encourage people to sign up to volunteer for Jen. If you're not down in South Florida, get on the phones and phone bank, text bank. There are ways to help. Donating obviously matters, but at the end of the day, not everybody can. But there's always ways to contribute. And for me, I'm on the ground. I love to door knock. It's just a thing for me. I'm I've always been in sales. It's in my DNA. It's not for everybody, but I would definitely say that it all starts at the ground level in your local community, and that's where a lot of that change happens. The truth is that our presidential vote is very minute. It obviously grows leaps and bounds depending on how many people we're talking about, but that local election can make all the difference in the world. And the election that we're focusing on here. I think if Jen were to unseat Wasserman Schultz, I think that would be a big shot across the bow that we could use right now.
Oh, it would be amazing. It would be absolutely amazing.